Will property prices keep rising? Is it going to happen, or are they going to fall off and crash and burn? Landlords are currently seeing rising property prices. Everyone's concerned, will a surge slow down? Will things go pear-shaped? And many people are even more concerned about that, about huge market crashes and so on. So let's look at the points that are supporting that surge. Do please listen to the end, because I've been accused of being a liar and not believing what I'm saying, and so I'm going to cover those questions at the end, and I think that'll be entertaining. Okay, house price rises. What are the supporting articles on that? We've got this week from Knight Frank 2024 report, reporting that house prices will increase by 5% over the coming year. So what are the reasons for that? Now, we've covered these manifold over the last few weeks. You know, the likes of strong demand, supply shortages. It's going to take a while, if at all, for the government to hit their housing target. It'd be great if they do, because it'll be a lot easier for people to get onto the housing ladder, and I think quality landlords will still be able to get quality tenants. So housing supply is failing to meet demand at the moment. There's high demand for homes, especially in suburban areas. The middle class areas are growing. A lot of the immigrants who are coming into the country are very keen to move up in the world and are putting their kids into as good a schools they can as soon as they get set up. There's limited houses due to land scarcity and planning problems. I was talking to a builder, I guess about a month ago, and he said there's only 4 people who are going to approve builders' plans in the Midlands area to work from home. One was on holiday and the other was on long-term sick, so pretty poor. Knight Frank expect prices to continue going up with the ongoing imbalance. Where will it go up? Knight Frank is saying Midlands, Northwest, London, South East pockets where things are not overpriced. Now, what are the things that are relieve pressure on these areas? 2 key points really. The Labour's housing policy. Apparently they're going to release greenbelt land that is the size of Surrey, and that's to hit their target. The size of Surrey, that is pretty big. What's the criticism on that? Apparently it's back to NIMBYism. 1947 Town and Country Planning Act. People are saying it'll sprawl a scar on the countryside. Green space is lost, those sort of things. It'll be the worst sprawl since the 1950s. Such large-scale developments will damage the environment. There's no clear definition of what is low-quality green belt. So again, it's not much transparency. And I think this is the case. The Labour housing minister said, from looking in opposition, we had all the answers. Looking now, it's a lot more difficult. And that's the whole point. When you're in the driving seat, you've got to make decisions. It is much more difficult. So this policy could work, but it's not going to work in the short term. So I think short term there is going to be. So again, let's just cover that. Demand for housing versus environmental concerns. Chris Packham, the environmentalist and TV presenter, has urged for a more balanced approach, focusing on sustainable and community-focused housing rather than uncontrolled urban sprawl. And I would agree with that. It's not good for the mind and the head to be in these enormous developments. It doesn't make you feel good. I've lived in them myself. I've owned property in those areas, and it's not great. So that's really where we're at on that sort of thing. It's a case of there's pushback from the NIMBYs, from people who are genuinely concerned about mental stress that these big developments will cause, and also the infrastructure development. I mean, if you have these huge housing developments, I've been involved in fairly small developments, and they are very difficult to get through. You have to appease the council as far as how many social housing you must have in there. You've got to appease the councils as far as what you can do with your roundabouts, how they must look, and so on. And unless you really are on top of your game, it's just a long-term drag. And I don't think these people have come into it in the Labour Party with any clear picture, just as like the Conservatives didn't come with any clear picture either. So it's not a great situation to be in. Okay, let's just cover a couple more points on what could support housing growth, just from what I see out there. Well, according to the December Zoopla report that came out 2 days ago, rents are 3.9% higher over the last year, the slowest inflation for 3 years. Quite extraordinary. 10.5% up in Northern Ireland, to a low of 1.3% in London over the last 12 months. The imbalance between supply and demand is narrowing, but will remain an ongoing characteristic of the rental market throughout 2025. So there are interesting facts. The biggest facts there: the average annual UK rental cost has risen to £3,240 since 2021. Well, that's 27% increase compared to wage growth of just 19%. It's going to be some sort of squeeze going on there. So it's not a great look, and I don't see in the short term how it's going to be fixed. Average rents are expected to rise by 4% in 2025. So go on to questions. Last week I said there's no better time to be a landlord, and what won't belong now, quoted saying there's no better time to get out of being a landlord. It's all about sharing. It's all about having opinions and discussing it all. That's what we are. We're a democracy. You know, we can say what we wish as long as we can back it up. If we're a pundit, then I think that's okay. One for the shields. Crazy opinions. This is me. Big gains are gone. Buying at peak housing costs under a Labour government about to crash the economy, and taxing landlords and introducing massive pro-renter and anti-business laws. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Mortgage rates at 60% are massive. I think that's 6% now. Rent to migrants, not a chance. Rayner claimed today that there are plenty of houses. Labour will continue its onslaught on business. There's not a single good thing or fact here. It's just speculation. I'm speculating. So I looked up speculation, and it's true, as human beings, we normally do one of three things. We save for the short term, we invest for the longer term, or we speculate. The actual explanation of speculation is to form a theory or conjecture without firm evidence. So underbuilding 4.3 million homes compared to our European neighbours since 1947, is that speculation? And therefore prices will fall? It's all about supply and demand. And I'll remind you of what the law of supply and demand is. The law of supply and demand combines two fundamental economic principles that describe how changes in the price of a resource, commodity or product affect its supply and demand. Supply rises while demand declines as the price increases. Supply constricts while demand grows as the price drops. So, is there an undersupply or an oversupply of property? As a basic fundamental in the UK today, answer that and you'll know if that's speculation or not. Finally, have I got lying eyes? Barry 6592, your eyes tell all anyone needs to know. You do not believe what you're voicing. Devaluation of currency has caused the uplift. Look at real wealth, not the illusion. Quick fact, did you know Barack Obama's wife and mother both called him Barry, not Barack? Interesting name. It's true, we live in inflationary times. 30 years ago, a pint of beer, I've started drinking 40 years ago, and I think it was probably 50 pence a pint in those days. I think very, very early days, it was about 12 and a half pence, but that's a long, long time ago. 30 years ago, a pint of beer was £1.41. Now it's £4. Marathon chocolate bars have shrunk by 40% in size and doubled in price. We do live in inflationary times. If the UK is to get itself out of debt, which is one of its goals, it will embrace inflation. So what is the answer? Buy inflation hedges, which is what? Gold, even bitcoins at the moment are inflation hedges. But as we covered 2 weeks ago, a strong inflation hedge, as proven historically as a fact, is physical property. So there we go. That's it for this week. Do have a look at our website if you can. We've always got lots of new articles coming out if you get an opportunity. So thank you very much for sharing Market Wrap number 235. Thanks for those great comments. Do come up with more. Overall, takeaway from this is a lack of supply and demand. A lack of supply is a great demand. The government will not build these houses it promises in time. There's a lot of pushback against it already. What is NIMBYism and urban sprawl. But we can see that there is definitely a shortage. By hook or by crook, people are still going to be coming into the UK. We don't really, I don't think, have the trades either to build all these houses. Post-Brexit, again, where have all those people gone? So thank you very much. Take care. Cheerio. Bye-bye.